What is going on, guys, and welcome to episode 289 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I'm your host, of course, Jeff Lambert. You can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. We are live here every Wednesday and Friday night on Facebook Live, Twitter, YouTube, and Twitch, and of course, syndicated on all major podcast networks. I'm here as always with my co-host, Mr. Ryan Searfoss. You can follow him at Foss534. What's up, Ryan?
Not much, man. Just happy to be here and have two shows in 1 week for like first time in like 3 weeks. It's nice.
Good stuff.
I've been slacking for the last month. It's nice to be back in the rhythm again.
Good stuff. All right, joining us tonight for the first time, Mr. Rob Norton. He's a staff writer for Last Word on NFL and Betting Predators. You could follow him on Twitter at Norton0723. What's up, man?
Not much. How you guys doing?
Not too bad, man. Not too bad. So give us a quick rundown of what you do in the fantasy space and kind of how you got into it.
So yeah, going way back, I used to just write like articles for our like long running home league, and a buddy and I did it, and then stopped for a while. But like they requested we do it again, and then so I started doing that again probably 4 or 5 years ago, and then they told me they're like, you should just put these out. So I started a blog, started doing that. I've always loved fantasy sports, fantasy football, so did that. And then, Last Word on NFL and Last Word on Sports reached out to me, asked if I wanted to write for them. So been doing that past few years. And then a few weeks ago, Chris Dell reached out from Betting Predators, asked if I would do a couple spots a week for him and do a DFS podcast with him weekly. So started doing that. So yeah, that's been the journey so far.
Good stuff. So it didn't sound like you set out to be in the industry. You just kind of slowly sort of worked your way in here.
Yeah. It wasn't like something that I wanted like way back in the day. I always loved fantasy sports, and I always did pretty well, I thought, at least. I was always pretty profitable in like pretty much every sport every year. So as time went on, I just kept thinking I want to test it, myself against better and better competition, doing more and more things. And then, the writing the articles kind of helps me with my research process too. So, it's helping me and putting out my thought process, and people started reading more of it. And so I was like, I might as well keep doing this, make a little money on the side.
Good stuff. All right, let's get into the show here.
Hey, you know what? F you.
All right, it's Bleep You Wednesday. We'll go to you first, Rob. Give us your Bleep You player or coach of the week.
I'm gonna go with the New England Patriots, just in general. Oh man, I don't know about you guys, but I had 3 matchups that were like pretty close coming down to the wire Monday night, and I was projected to win all of them, and I only needed 8 points in one league. I had New England defense and Nick Folk, got me 6, so that was one of them. The one for Jacoby Myers was the closest one. I needed 15 PPR points. He got me 11.4 in that league, so that was another tough one. And then I needed 5 from the DST, and they got me 4. So lost all 3. Yeah, it was a tough one.
That's brutal. I didn't have any fancy stakes in that game, but I did do some parlays that killed me. I was playing all the unders, and it just did not work out so well. That game went way over.
Shout out to the only Patriot who everybody should have is Ramondre Stevenson.
Yeah, exactly.
If you listen to the show,
much.
you know.
Yeah, definitely. All right, Ryan, what you got for your Bleep You?
Strike London. Like, he gave us those first 3 weeks such a tease, man. He got us excited. We thought he was getting that huge market share. He was balling out. We saw that 20-point game week 2, and then we had 5-5. He had 1 point this week. Get out of here, man. Like, it's terrible. Like, I don't know if the QB change is going to, I don't know what they need, but it's a nightmare. And I saw it, like, I had that taste of what he's capable of, and it makes it hard to bet him because he should lead their team in targets. He's their most talented player, and it makes sense for him to get the ball. So I want to keep him in the game just because of common sense. But it doesn't work out that way, and it's just such a tease, and I hate him, and I need to talk myself into benching him everywhere.
Yeah, the Falcons are one of those teams that I get them on red zone, right? So you see them when they're in the red zone. But this past weekend, for some reason, they played it a lot more, and it seemed like the Falcons just want to run the ball and run the ball and run the ball. And even when it could be like 3rd and 12, we're going to run the ball again. It's like so bad. I mean, it's good for them because they're actually successful at it. At least lately they have been. But yeah, it's brutal if you own any passing options in that offense, like Kyle Pitts and Drake London. Terrible. All right, so my Bleep You Wednesday is actually a repeat for the exact opposite reason. So a week or two ago, I had DJ Moore on my Bleep You because he was been playing terrible, and I had bought into him a lot in my dynasty leagues. I had him in my redraft leagues, but now I finally benched him in my dynasty league. I dropped him in my redraft league. As luck would have it, the person that I'm playing against picked him up and played him against me. And that was the difference in the game, really. If I had just even if I kept DJ Moore on my bench and they had just played their regular people that they had, I would have still won. But the fact that DJ Moore was on that other team and put a bunch of points up and beating me was pretty brutal. And then I started Michael Gallup thinking, oh, Michael Gallup's back. Dak Prescott's back. This should be good. I put Gallup in there over DJ Moore in my dynasty league, and he got me a big fat 0. So, yes, DJ Moore, you're on the list twice this year because not good. Not good. All right, fellas, let's get to the news and notes.
News and notes from around the league.
News and notes brought to you, as always, by Underdog Fantasy. It's single game and single week best ball leagues. If you love fantasy football, nothing better than weekly best ball leagues. There's no need to wait to the end of the season if you won. You can get your payouts every week. Download the Underdog app for iOS or Android and use our promo code GF2 and get a 100% deposit match up to $100. Underdog is the fastest growing fantasy sports platform on the market, and there's a reason for that. So see what all the hype's about. Get the app, download or use our promo code GF2 and start winning. All right, so I want this whole Jets thing here. Obviously, it's down with the ACL. They trade for James Robinson, and then they also have this drama with Elijah Moore mixed in there as well. So I'm gonna go to you first, Rob, just on the whole state of the Jets right now and what you think of the trade and what you think of the Elijah Moore thing.
And it's definitely interesting. A lot going on for them. They've been surprisingly good this year. So losing Brees was a huge hit. He was breaking out in a huge way, and then a lot of people were talking about him as being even the 1.01 next year. So it's a brutal loss there. I don't know how I feel about the James Robinson thing. I was pretty low on him heading into the year, just coming off of a major injury, and he started out so hot and then slowed down. So I'm not sure what to expect. I kind of still think I prefer Michael Carter. I think he's still going to be the pass down guy for them. They haven't been throwing to their backs a lot as is though. So I was hoping Carter will just kind of take the whole role and run with it. But I do think J. Rob's going to be heavily involved there too. So I think it's going to be kind of a mess, honestly, moving forward. And then the Elijah Moore thing, I'm hoping Elijah Moore can either get dealt. So because I loved him last year, loved him heading into this year, and it's been brutal for him so far. So I'm hoping they can kind of tick up a little bit for him.
Yeah, I was with Elijah Moore as well. I didn't see this coming, but I knew right away the moment he asked for a trade. I'm like, that's not good. You're a rookie in your second year. You've really done nothing in your NFL career. You're asking for a trade. This isn't the NBA. You can't do that in the NFL. Your contract's not guaranteed. You could basically just be cut at any time. So yeah, I knew something was going to happen with the suspension, or they basically benched him for the game. Ryan, what are your thoughts on the situation?
I'm so tired of players requesting trades mid-season. It's driving me nuts. I hate it so much, and all these players just complaining and bitching about it online. I feel so old saying that because I always want players to get paid, but bro, your team's winning right now. It'll come. Yeah. Like if you're winning, if your team sucks and you're not getting involved, complain. I support that. But if you're one of the better teams in the AFC at the moment and you're crying about it, shut up. But as for that offense, I think J-Rob will have a decent role just because he fits what Brees Hall did as a runner, like that between the tackles guy when you have Carter Moore as that receiving role. So yeah, I think it will call, like you said, a little bit messy. And we may have to play game script a little bit when you're picking which one of those running backs to do. If you think the Jets are going to play at the lead in close games, you want J-Rob playing from behind, obviously Carter with his pass catching. So I think you're going to play that a little bit more. But the Steel team's pretty solid because their team's based off of playing really good defense and pounding the rock, and J-Rob's perfect for that. So I think that'll be good in the long run for him. But man, I want Brees Hall back already.
Yeah.
I know.
It's sad.
It's brutal. My
Yeah.
dynasty league, I have Javonte Williams and Brees Hall as my main two running backs. So,
I traded for Brees Hall 2 days ago in a rebuild. I traded Derrick Henry for Brees Hall and defensive player.
It's not bad right now. You can buy low on them right now. But yeah, I had as my RB1 and RB2 in my league, and so now I'm starting. I think AJ Dillon this week, so it's not good. Not good. All right, let's stick with the receivers here. We got two receivers, one going out, one coming back. We'll go to Mike Williams first. He's going to miss at least 4 weeks here. And I want to talk about the pieces that are still there and who you think benefits the most. Rob, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, with the Mike Williams thing, Keenan Allen should be coming back after the bye too. So probably see him. I mean, assuming he's healthy, we'll probably see him take on a huge target share again. I mean, he normally does anyway, but with Mike Williams out, I would expect that. I would say, Josh Palmer, but like he's been kind of up and down as is too. It used to be it seemed like last year with Palmer, he was, whenever one of them was out, he was, stepping up in a big way. He hasn't done it as well this year. He's been a little banged up too, I believe. So, yeah, I don't think he's as trustworthy as we're hoping. I honestly think that it could help Gerald Everett's target share a little bit too, and especially the threshold at tight end isn't anything to write home about. So if he can tick up a little bit too, he could become almost a must start every week.
Yeah, I think I'm with you on that. And just on that tight end note, I think Ryan McDowell put a stat out today or yesterday that Greg Dulcich has 2 tight end 1 games. In the 2 games he's played, he scored 10 points, I think, in both games. And the tight end once. So that's how brutal it is. Ryan, what are your thoughts here with Mike Williams, and who do you think benefits the most?
Yeah, I was gonna go straight Gerald Everett. He is he's 4th for tight ends in red zone targets, with 8 right now, and Mike Williams is 4th for receivers with 10. He's the body type where those red zone targets are gonna go for. I think that puts him in a lock top 5 tight end for as long as Mike Williams is out the rest of the season. And obviously Keenan Allen, if he's healthy, does Keenan Allen things. And Eckler, I think all the rest are just ancillary pieces that are going to be cool to talk about, but you actually don't want to start them because it's a dart throw and maybe a DFS long shot. But that's it for me.
Yeah, I agree. And I've heard some people on Twitter talking about Eckler should benefit, and I'm like, you can't really get more than 16 targets.
Yeah, he has 61 targets. Right? And I don't know how much more he can get.
Yeah, there's nowhere to go up from there.
It's going to keep it consistent, so I'm cool with that. But I think it's Everett, man.
Yeah, I agree. I think Everett's the one that benefits the most, and Josh Palmer, like you mentioned, is probably going to be like a popular DFS play as long as he's cheap, and DraftKings doesn't put him up too high. But yeah, in season long, unless you're desperate or you're in bye week hell, Josh Palmer is probably going to be sitting on your bench.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about a receiver that's coming back, Mr. Van Jefferson for the Rams. I'll go to you first, Ryan, on this one. So, we kind of thought A-Rob was going to step into that number 2 role and be that number 2 target. He hasn't done that. He did a little bit right before the bye. Jefferson's coming back. He kind of showed some flashes last year. Any fantasy appeal here? Any chance that he can become the number 2 option in this offense? Receiver, not. I think Higbee's the number 2, but a receiver.
He could be, but do we really care about what their number 2 receiver is right now? Their number 2 receiver is averaging 3.8 receptions a game right now.
Not good.
After Kupp and Higbee, Kupp has such a huge market share; it's hard for anyone else to get work. And yes, Stafford has that connection with Van Jefferson from having some rapport with him. But this team is just throwing as quick as they can and just trying to get rid of the ball. It's normally the Kupp. And Higbee, he's going to be on the outside, and the outside receivers are just getting slaughtered right now because they don't have time to reach them. I don't know if Stafford's arm is doing that right now, so I'm kind of out on him.
Yeah, that's kind of the point I was going to bring up too. Is he's that deep threat guy, and they can't even go deep right now because they can't get enough time.
Yeah,
Stafford's on his back before they can even get down the field.
This is not the team of last year.
Yeah, not at all. Not even close. What are your thoughts, Rob? Any interest here in Van Jefferson?
Not really outside of deep leagues. I mean, 14-team or 16-team, like 3 wide receiver and flex type of thing. But But yeah, I think Ryan nailed it pretty much. Like he's a deep threat kind of guy. He's not going to get. I mean, we don't really have much concern for the guy getting 3-4 targets a game. So like, it's. I mean, I'm sure he'll have a couple games here and there, some spike games, but nothing that you're going to feel like comfortable with starting every week.
Yeah, I'm with you. Let's go to some quarterbacks here. We got a new quarterback in Indianapolis, and honestly, I wasn't doing a lot of scouting of this guy when he's coming out, so I don't know if either of you know anything about this guy. Sam Ehlinger is going to be the starter. Apparently, he's a scrambling type quarterback, so he's hopefully can do some things behind that offensive line that we thought was good that ended up not being very good. I'll go to you first, Rob, here on this. What are your thoughts on Ehlinger, and if you own any of the pieces of that offense, are you worried?
Yeah, so I don't know much about him either, other than the fact that he's 4,000 on DraftKings. So like I'll probably be at least looking there. I mean, that's Stone Min, so it's interesting. And the fact that he runs. So but other than that, I mean, it does worry me a little bit. Ryan, like even though he didn't look that great, like I think he was like top at one point. I know he was top 2 or 3 in passing yards, and he threw like 60 times in one game or whatever. Like, so there was a lot of volume. Really, he's still fourth. Yeah, I was gonna say he's up there. So, yeah, I mean, if I have pass catching options, it does worry me a little. Like I had put Paris Campbell in one of my like waiver wire articles pretty much earlier this week, and it makes me a little bit more nervous on him because I wasn't even like too sold, but he had been coming off of 2 double-digit target games, so he was kind of interesting. So yeah, I mean, it does make me definitely worried a little bit to see what kind of pass volume they have moving forward.
Yeah, and Kyle in the chat just kind of mentioned that he had Ehlinger sort of ranked higher than Trask and Davis Mills, who Trask has not had a chance to play yet. Davis Mills actually looks pretty decent. So Kyle just said he likes Ehlinger more coming out. So that's something. Ryan, what are your thoughts? I know you do a lot of the Dynasty rookie stuff on your other podcast. Any guy?
Yeah. I mean, he's fine. Like super flex, you can roll him out there. He's kind of like the other former Texas quarterback, like Colt McCoy. Like I feel like Sam Ehlinger has everything to be that like lifelong journeyman, that number 2 QB who you can throw in there. Play a safe game, not really make mistakes, and can run an offense. That's what he is with a little bit of running upside, which gives him a little bit of appeal in those deeper super flex leagues. But like normal 1 QB, no thanks. But if you need it, and I'm okay with that. Like I think he can get Michael Pittman the ball, and that's what matters to me.
And that's really it. So you think Alec Pierce and Paris Campbell kind of fall off the map, and it's mostly Pittman?
No, because this team's getting slaughtered and playing from behind. Like, game script's gonna make them pass the ball. Like, I think they'll still get theirs, and it might be good for Pierce. We don't know if early in camp, when Pierce wasn't first string yet, he might have a rapport with Sam Ehlinger.
Yeah.
Like, there's always that to think of. So I'm not out on that for him at all. But I think he's a safe quarterback for them who's not going to mess up.
Yeah. Rob, I'm going to go back to you real quick. I want to know what it does for Jonathan Taylor. You think they put any run pass options in there? I mean, obviously with that Matt Ryan, that wasn't an option, but RPOs with Jonathan Taylor and this running quarterback could be interesting.
Yeah, I was going to say it could definitely open some lanes up. I mean, we see it with all the other quarterbacks that can run a little bit. Like it increases efficiency for running backs. It might. I don't know if it will drop off the target share. I would expect it to. I mean, anytime you get a statue quarterback in there, they're more likely to dump off to running backs or check down, especially vets. So it could maybe hurt some target share to running backs a little bit, but it might help the efficiency, especially if they put in that option and he does have some success getting out on the edge. So hopefully for Jonathan Taylor, we see that.
Yeah, agreed.
I think the running quarterback thing's a little overblown with him. Like, I think mobile and like he can run for 4 or 5 yards here or there. He's not like Justin Fields. He runs like Joe Burrow can run. Like he's athletic, like a Justin Herbert. Like he can like create for himself. He's not out there running zone reads and just blowing by people where you really have to worry about him. He's
Right.
just not a statue.
He's just more mobile than Matt Ryan, which at this point in my life, I'm probably more mobile
I
than
mean,
Matt Ryan.
well, Jeff, let's not get too carried away.
Let's not get too far.
They're going a little too far there. But no, he cannot die standing behind a line. So there's that for him.
All right, last note I have here is Christian McCaffrey. We talked about it on the last podcast, the potential of him being traded. And then, of course, he ended up traded to the 49ers. I know at the time, Ryan, we said that we thought it would hurt his value because he wouldn't get the usage that he was going to get in Carolina. They got him into the lineup immediately after like 2 days of prep, and then found ways to get him the ball with very little playbook experience. What are your thoughts now with Christian McCaffrey there? You still on the same thing that he's not going to get as much usage?
I mean, I think he'll still get good usage. I think they'll rotate a little bit more. And like I saw you put in the notes, which you didn't mention here, about him not being used on third down 2-minute drills, which is completely overblown. Those are the those are the two biggest times when you need to know the playbook very well, because a lot of that is you're in a hurry up offense, you're calling the fly, you don't have time to not know the playbook well. And I know that San Fran offense is a little bit complicated, so he's not going to be in for that. So I'm not worried about that. And with that efficiency in that San Fran offense, man, the more I think about it, he's going to be fine.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if he needs that volume with the efficiency. Like, it might even out.
Yeah,
like,
you're right.
He's still a top 5 player for me.
Yeah.
What are your thoughts, Rob?
Yeah, I was torn on it, and I was interested to hear what you guys thought, because I was kind of the same thing. Like, he's been so good because he gets so much target share, and like he's been a cheat code in that sense, and so much volume, and like going to a team like that where you have such good offensive weapons around him too, like it's almost a guarantee, in my opinion, that like his usage will drop off. But like Ryan said, the efficiency should go through the roof. You're going from like arguably one of the worst offenses, maybe the worst, to one of the most efficient and one of the best run schemes and play callers in the NFL. So I was really torn. I do think like it hurt. I think if he does go down a little bit, it would be more so in full PPR. Like I think in the non PPR or half PPR, it doesn't hurt quite as much, just because I think the biggest drop off could come with targets. But like you said, we've seen no names, like guys undrafted, 6th round, late round running backs just ball out in the scheme. So now you get a guy this talented, and I think Shanahan is a smart enough play caller to understand like you got to get this guy involved in the passing game too. Like I'd be surprised if he doesn't. So I was initially kind of down on it, but like I've come around more, and I do think like kind of the efficiency spike should offset some of the usage drop off.
Yeah, I like it.
Dude, I mean, Jeff Wilson's averaging 5.2 a carry in that offense.
Right? It's crazy,
and
man.
Jeff Wilson averaging 5.2 a carry in that offense make them say, hey, let's upgrade and get Christian McCaffrey. Last year, Elijah Mitchell's whole season was 4.7, which is crazy efficient. Again, nowhere near the talent of Christian McCaffrey. Like, it makes sense where he should be so efficient. Like, he might tip that 60 carry fight spot, which is damn near impossible. And you're doing that, you only need 14 carries and 3 catches to have a huge fantasy weeks.
Yep, good point. I think it's funny that the narrative has kind of changed. Coming into every season, everybody's like, "Oh, I don't want no piece of that Niners running back core because they got 2 or 3, 4 guys that they'll rotate in there." And now everybody's saying that Shanahan runs their running backs into the ground. That's why they keep getting hurt. And I'm like, you can't have it both ways. You can't do it both ways. So I think there'll be a good balance. I do think that Jeff Wilson will still be mixed in there just to keep him fresh. But I do think Christian McCaffrey gets plenty of volume to be, super efficient in that offense as well.
As a fan, do you think that it's just the stylistically running is what causes that injuries? Like, it's super strenuous, like with the cutback lanes and the way they're making the shot, like that one hard cut every time. Do you think that's what causes it to an extent?
I do, because when you're doing those cutbacks lanes, you're going against the grain.
Yeah.
When you're running downhill, you're delivering the punishment to whoever's in front of you.
Right.
When you're cutting against the grain and you got guys that are flying down the field, hitting you from the side, those kind of things. That's, I think, where those injuries come from. And we saw that with Elijah Mitchell when he did that cutback, he got hit in his knee from the side because he cut back against the grain where people were flying all around. So yeah, I agree there. It's harder as a running back when you're not the one delivering the punishment. Good point. All right, let's do some. We're at week number 8. We are now in the mid year, so we're going to do some mid year fantasy awards here, and we're going to take this strictly for the mid year. So guys like Brees Hall that got hurt, unfortunately won't be carrying forward. I want to include them in this half of the year. So if today was the end of the season, who would be your award winners here? So the first one I got up here, and I'll go to you first, Rob. Rookie of the year so far.
It's funny you said that with the Brees Hall thing because I was torn on it. I wrote down I put Chris Olave, but I said I would have put Brees Hall. So I mean both of those guys have been awesome, but I'll go with Chris Olave. He's currently wide receiver 13, but that's also including like Michael Thomas, who's only been out there for 3 games, and Hopkins, who's only won 1 game. So really, he's wide receiver 11 on the year, full PPR. He's also number 1 in air yards, 153.7 per game. Number 1 in air yard share. Number 1 in deep targets. 3rd in ADOT. 11th in yards per route run, which I love using that metric. It just shows really how efficient a receiver is being. And he's also 9th in receiving yards, and he's the wide receiver 10 in expected fantasy points per game. And that was all after I think he had that first game he only had like single digit points, but he's ran off like double digit points ever since. And he's even he had that game where he left with the concussion, and he missed a week, but came back and he's picked right back up where he left off.
Yeah, and even the quarterback change didn't hurt him. I thought maybe Dalton would hurt him, and Dalton was just fine with him as well. So, yeah, I agreed. I think I had a stat. I think it was week 2 or week 3. That week that Tua went off for 6 touchdowns. That game, Waddle and Tyreek Hill, I forget what the air yards was, but they combined for, let's just say, 200 yards, air yards. Olave that week had that much by himself. That's how much air yards he was getting. It was insane. Ryan, who's your rookie of the year?
I don't even care that he's only been starting for 2 weeks right now. It's Ken Walker. He's been starting for 2 weeks, and he's already RB21. He is absolute lightning in a bottle right now. He had a monster game this week. He had a huge game the week before for just getting started. Dude, he's a superstar, and this offense is revolving around it. And like that, he did it that quickly in barely any starts. Wait till the rest of the season. I know it's mid-season rookie of the year, but no one else was, other than Brees Hall, was really that impressive compared to what he showed in the last couple weeks.
Yeah, good stuff. Yeah, so I had Chris Olave, Brees Hall written on my list as well in that order. I thought about Kenneth Walker. I just didn't think he played enough games. So the one name I'll throw out there, I wouldn't give him Rookie of the Year. This is an actual award show, but just to put him in the conversation is Dameon Pierce. I think he's had an awesome season, where he was drafted and all that stuff, and he's taken that offense over, and he's now a stud running back you can put in your lineup every single week. So Dameon Pierce would be my dark horse there. This next one here, I have a feeling that we're all probably going to have the same guy, but we'll go ahead and do it a new way. Comeback Player of the Year, Rob. Who you got?
Saquon Barkley. And as I say, he felt like the low hanging fruit here. So obviously, people were scared off after the injuries the past couple of years and things. But he rose up late in drafts, but like according to Fantasy Pros, he still was RB12 in ADP. I think he was on Underdog was a little higher. I saw him like getting to like RB8 somewhere in that range late in draft season. So, but even still, he's currently RB3 in full PPR. He's like 21.5 points per game. He's only behind Eckler and Jacobs. When you look under the hood, I mean, it's like he's pretty much top 5 among running backs in pretty much every metric you want. So, I mean, it's hard to do much better than what he's been doing coming back like this. Yeah,
I had Barkley as well. Ryan, did you have anybody else besides Barkley?
No, I mean, who else? Like, let's be real. Like, you want to be creative on these events and like these things like this and these awards, right? But it's unanimous, man. Yeah. People were leaving him to dead off the same injury that McCaffrey had to get the 1 overall. I just don't get it. Like, he's a monster.
Yeah.
And wow, we have some lovely people looking for lovely ladies in our chat tonight. This is exciting. This is the new one.
Yeah, when you get spam, you know you've made it, right?
This is the first time I feel like we've really made it seeing this span.
Yeah.
Something for
Luckily,
everyone, I guess, right?
yeah, luckily Restream's got a block feature, so we won't see any more of that account popping up on our thing. So yeah, comeback player of the year. Obviously, Saquon Barkley is the hands down winner. I just threw out one more name. Christian McCaffrey, I think, has been good. I
Yeah.
don't think we gave him the same hate that we did Barkley. Obviously, he was like number 1, number 2 overall in most drafts, but I do think he still performed pretty well.
Weird. He got the San Francisco 49ers and you give him this award. Weird. Okay.
I'm just mentioning him.
Cool,
I'm going with Barkley.
cool.
I'm going with. I just wanted to put a few more names out there. And I did have one more name written down that I don't know if it technically counts because he didn't play a single down last year. But Travis Etienne, coming back off that ACL, I know he didn't play, so he can't really come back if he never even played. But I think he's looked pretty good off that injury.
Yeah.
All right, let's go with most disappointing player award. And we want this to be non-injury related. We'll go to you first, Ryan.
I feel like I'm taking low-hanging fruit again. And it's Kyle Pitts. Like, he was going first round, second round, and he has just been absolutely atrocious.
Yeah.
I don't know what to say. Like, there's nothing.
Nothing you can say about it. That's it.
Yeah.
I have a backup I'd like to throw out if one of you guys don't mention them, just because that's some fun stats I saw about them well.
Who do you got for most disappointing, Rob?
I did have Pitts. Yeah, I did have Pitts. Like and it felt like extra disappointing to me because like last year I was kind of out on him, mostly just because of the rookie tight end kind of thing, and I was like, I don't think he's really going to exceed, his ADP, and he kind of didn't. Like he had a super awesome rookie year for a rookie tight end, but like still like he fit that perfect spot where like everyone pretty much was victory lapping him. It felt like. So heading into this year though, I was completely sold and I was all in. I was drafting him every time in the third round, pretty much. If he was there in the third round, I was snagging him up. So yeah, he's been really rough.
Yeah, definitely. And I had Pitts as my top pick there. I did have a couple that I wanted to mention. Ryan, go ahead and mention yours first. I got
funny the comment that Cal just made, and that's Najee Harris. So what is that? I think it was Jake Larkey, or is his name Jake Larkey, who posted that on Twitter recently. So 51 running backs have hit 15.2 fantasy points in a game this year. Najee Harris is not one of them. Daniel Jones has more rushing yards than Najee Harris.
Touchdowns.
Braxton Berrios has more rushing touchdowns than Najee Harris, and he is last in the league in yards per attempt.
Yeah, it was brutal. I had him on my list, and the only other guy I had there is because he went 101 or 102 is Jonathan Taylor. If you drafted him, you're not happy right now. I know he still has a chance to sort of come back and have a good season, but so far it hasn't been good. I know injury related, he missed 2 games, but even before he went out, he wasn't doing you any favors. So, but yeah, I agree with the ones that y'all mentioned already. All right, let's go with the most surprising award. Rob, what you got?
I'm going to go with Geno Smith. I feel like heading into the year, basically everyone was leaving Seattle players just for dead at this point with Russ gone. I know I was pretty down on DK. I was pretty down on Lockett. I've always been a Lockett guy, and I was pretty down on Lockett. Do have him in a couple spots just because he just free fell. I mean, but yeah, Geno Smith, he's just been unreal. I think he's QB7 right now, almost 19 points per game. He's leading the NFL in completion percentage, true completion percentage, play action completion percentage, clean pocket completion percentage. He's like 4th in QBR and true pass rating. Like he's been legit good. It's not something I ever expected heading into the year that I'd be saying that this guy Geno Smith all of a sudden just became good. So it's been a huge surprise.
Yeah, it definitely has, and I still have a hard time buying in. I know like it's been a few weeks where it's been the Geno Smith chalk week for DraftKings, and I've not played him because it's Geno Smith. Something's going to happen. He's producing over and over and over again. And I think he has the quote of the year too. When he said everyone wrote him off, he just didn't write them back. That's the quote of the year for me.
That was fantastic.
It was so great.
Ryan, what you got?
I was gonna say that one, but I'm gonna pivot and go with. There's so much. It's just so easy this year with the low hanging fruit. Go with David Njoku. He was out of that great tight end class that almost entirely flopped. He was kind of left for dead. We thought he was going to get cut. We thought Austin Hooper was going to take his spot this year. And he is on his way to, by far, even with the possible 3 to 5 games that he's going to miss with the ankle sprain, probably having the best season of his career. And he's somebody you actually can feel comfortable starting, which is shocking because we've seen, I don't know, 6 years to him now, and he hasn't done really anything.
Yeah. That's a good one. That's definitely a good one. I had the same guys. I had Geno Smith right at the top of my list. I do want to mention, as an honorable mention, is Josh Jacobs. Everybody kind of wrote him off, especially when they drafted a running back. And then that first preseason game, he didn't even touch, or they ran the ball a ton with him, thinking that, he's the backup if they're not playing their starters, and the whole narrative around that. And he's come out. I think last I checked, I think he's like RB4 right now. He's just crushing it. So Josh Jacobs is sort of an honorable mention. And two more that I had on there just because the narratives around them. Jalen Hurts, I think he was a QB1 last year anyway, but I do think people thought that he was going to be a good NFL quarterback and potentially could get benched. Well, that has been put to rest. There's definitely no question that he's the quarterback there. And then Christian Kirk changing teams, going to Jacksonville. People didn't think that he could be a number one receiver. Well, he's proven that wrong. He got that big contract. A lot of hate came with that contract, but he may not be paying that contract off completely, but he definitely is a lot better than I expected him to be. So those are my honorable mentions. All right, this next one was tough for me. I don't know if it was tough for y'all because I don't know if we've had that guy yet. But best waiver wire ad, Ryan, who do you have?
I think it's going to be Eno Benjamin. I think we've seen a little bit of surprising production out of him with James Conner being down. There haven't been a ton of guys. Like you said, there hasn't been a ton of guys in the waivers yet. But the last couple of weeks, he's been startable. Is either a flex option or RB2. He almost cracked 100 total yards last week. That's what you want out of someone who's in the waivers. And in that offense, he's going to have scoring opportunities. And he's getting decent enough volume with his breakaway ability to be good in fantasy.
Yeah, I like it. That's a good one. What about you, Rob? Who do you have?
Yeah, this one was tough for me too because I was trying to think back to like all the waiver wire articles I did each week, and so this guy that I put down kind of, I don't know how well it's the narrative, but I put Kenneth Walker just because like he was drafted in most leagues, but then
Dropped
had that
these
injury.
leagues.
Yeah, I was gonna say that's the thing is he got that injury early on in the preseason. Missed the first game. Even when he came back, he only played 23% of snaps, 13% of snaps, 36% of snaps. Penny was looking kind of like he was going to be the guy. And I know then when Penny went down in week 5, when I do the waiver wire article, my threshold is anything basically under 50%. And he was rostered in under 50% of Yahoo leagues at the time. Yeah, I know, right? It was shocking to me.
I need to do more Yahoo leagues, man. Holy
exactly. But it was pretty shocking to me, and so he wasn't available in a ton of mine, but he was available in some. And I mean, at that point I just emptied the clip on the on the fab, put my entire fab on him on any league that he was available in mine. But yeah, I thought it was a tough one too because it's hard to tell especially who's going to be valuable rest of the year. But clearly for me, like Kenneth Walker, obviously Ryan mentioned it earlier about rookie of the year and things. So the guy's been RB8 and RB3 I think the past 2 weeks. So I mean he's a stud and he should have that top 10 value rest of the year.
I like it. I had 2 names written down and I don't know how much these guys are going to have in the second half of the season. This is definitely a first half award. I had Devin Duvernay for the Ravens, who's been really good, surprising. Ryan, why you got that face, Ryan?
Because I want more Duvernay in my life.
Yeah.
Like I want them to use him everywhere. It makes me sad that he's not used more because he is very exciting.
Yeah.
I'm just a fan of him in general.
For sure.
And then the other one I had, ironically, came from my team, Jeff Wilson Jr. Obviously, he lost a lot to Mitchell early, and Jeff Wilson came in and kind of saved you if you got him off waivers. So those were the 2 that I had written down.
That is a good one.
Let's go Breakout Award, Rob. Who do you have?
So, yeah, I went with Ramondre Stevenson in this one. He's currently RB10, like 16.5 points per game. I mean, he was good last year when he got the role, but it wasn't very much that he got the full-time role. And he started slow, but now he's got double-digit points, 5 straight games now, and 20-plus in 4 straight. He had an 80+% snap share in the games that Harris missed, and then this past week Harris returned. He still had 73%, even with Harris back, and then he's been running a ton of routes as well. Now I'm not sure if it's just a situation of Harris being eased back first week off injury. Could be. But I do think Ramondre is I just think he's better. And I do think even if Harris starts to see 10 plus carries again, Ramondre is going to be the guy that's still probably going to get 10 plus carries and also be involved in the pass game. So I think he's even with Harris back, is a startable RB2 rest of the year. And if Harris does happen to miss, I mean, he's a surefire top end guy.
Yeah, it's crazy, right? The pass catching back is Ramondre Stevenson. Like, who had that in the offseason, right?
Yeah, 240-pound pass catching back.
Yeah,
right.
Like when I first heard that they were using him in the James White role in the offseason, like, it's just offseason. They're just trying some things out. There's no way he gets that passing role, but sure enough, he does have it. So it's pretty crazy. Ryan, who you got for your breakout?
After a quick pivot, because I 100% just wanted to rave about Ramondre Stevenson. Rob, I love all of your takes.
Yeah,
I'm going
Appreciate
weird on
it.
this because he kind of broke out last year as a rookie, but he had some serious questions about him now with the addition of Tyreek Hill. Like, I think we kind of thought that Jalen Waddle was just good because he got 160 targets last year. But guess what? He's sitting there wide receiver 7 right now, and that's with the addition of Tyreek Hill. Dude, like, he's a full-blown superstar at that wide receiver position. And I
for sure.
don't know if he's quite getting looked at like that yet. And I think it's a breakout, and we're just seeing the beginning of it.
Yeah.
But I really want Ramondre Stevenson, so.
Yeah, he definitely was on my list as well. And we already talked about Njoku. He was on my list. And I had Jalen Hurts. I know I talked about him a little bit already, but again, I mean, he was a fringe QB1. He's now, I think, QB3, if I remember correctly, and he's already had his bye week. So Hurts has been phenomenal, and it's not just with his legs. Now he's doing it with his arm as well. He's got AJ Brown there, so he was one. And then I had Miles Sanders too, just thrown into the mix. I do think he's finally getting the volume that we want. He's not putting up monster numbers yet, but I do think if he can continue that volume, Sanders can also have a nice little breakout. All right, so last award of the night, I kind of divided into two pieces. It's the fantasy MVP, but this could be taken two different ways. Your MVP could be your top guy that you took, and he just happens to perform like you expected him to, or he could be a late round guy that you drafted. So I divided it into two different parts. So the first one is an MVP for guys drafted in rounds 1 and 2. Ryan, who you got for this one?
I am taking Stephon Diggs for my guy, taking rounds 1 and 2. Yes, he's wide receiver 1, which is awesome, but it's the way he got there because he has 0 games under 10 PPR points. He produces on a week in, week out basis, and he's had over 20 points in 4 of his 6 games already. Like, that's the consistency I want out of an early round pick. And the fact he's done it and he has the upside where he can have a 40-point game, that's what I want. And that's the MVP for me, especially because he's in that early round 2 and round 1 range.
Yep, exactly. Yeah, I think in Superflex leagues, there was a couple times where I saw, Josh Allen goes 101, and then it came back when he got Stephon Diggs, got the stack there at the 212.
You're freaking set.
Beautiful right there. All right, Rob, what you got for your round?
I don't know if I was giving both.
Yeah, so it's funny. Now Ryan stole my one on this one. I went with Diggs as well, but I'm gonna I'm gonna pivot. It's just the thing with Diggs too. The other point that I loved is like not only could you get the stack like that was possible at times. A lot of people I saw, and I know I did this myself in some leagues, was double tap basically Diggs and Kelsey. So that was like a nice option as well. And I mean, you do something like that, whether you got the Allen Diggs Kelsey situation, like you're looking real good. But I'm gonna say Austin Eckler. I mean, he was going kind of mid first round, and he's just been unreal. I mean, he started off a little bit slow, but even when he started off slow, he was getting 10 targets, 8 targets. The first week he only had 4, but he was still heavily involved. I wasn't too worried personally, and he was scoring double-digit PPR points without touchdowns and with low rushing yardage. Like that's how you know a guy has a massive, massive floor. And in a good offense, the touchdowns were going to come. And obviously, in the last 4 weeks, he's rattled off 35, 39, 36, 25. I mean, he's been an absolute stud. He's averaging like 25, 26 a game. He's an RB1. So, yeah, he's following up an awesome year with an even better one, basically.
That was my second choice.
Yeah, so Eckler was the choice that I had written down there. I was actually going to say that a couple of my best ball leagues, if Jonathan Taylor didn't go 101, I was taking Austin Eckler 101 in some of those leagues. Yeah. I just thought he had that tremendous upside with the targets you mentioned, and he's definitely performed there. I got him at 103, 104 in most of the leagues that I do own him, so he's paid off handsomely. And then the other one you mentioned, Travis Kelce, is another one that I think's been doing. Everyone talked like, oh, Tyreek Hill's gone. What's his offense going to look like? Are they going to double team Kelce? The answer is yes, but it doesn't matter if he's still throwing the ball.
Matter. There's no stopping that man.
Yeah, he's a monster. All right, now let's do our late round MVP, and I'll go to you first, Rob.
Yeah, so for this one,
take my guy.
A lot of pressure here. I went with Chris Olave on this one as well. We talked about him before, but he's been awesome. He had that slow week 1, but was double digits since. And he was going outside the top 100 overall, outside top 40 wide receivers, and I think he's just a clear cut must start every week pretty much at this point. And I mean, even if Michael Thomas comes back, it could muddy up things a little bit, but Olave has just been so good. I just think he's so good that like you just want to play him.
Yeah, I think I don't know if Ryan gave this stat or one of our guests that Chris Olave led college last year in yards separation, and he's showing in the NFL. I mean, he's getting separation. He's 3, 4, 5, 6 yards in front of his guy in some cases. Yeah. So yeah, he's been crushing it. All right, Ron, who you got for your late round MVP?
I went super late round. I went pick 167 in most drafts ADP, and that gave you the RB16 and Jamal Williams. Like he's probably my most rostered player in fantasy. Same. He has, like I said, he's been consistently playing. He has standalone value even when DeAndre Swift is there. He's been playable as a flex option, and while he's out, he's a guy you can start as an RB2 every week and be happy. And where you drafted him at, he's free. He was free. Like you can't beat that.
100%.
It's funny because he was the next one that I was on my list, and he was my most drafted on Underdog running back. Yeah, for sure. He was just free, like you said. It was crazy.
Yeah, he was. He was the one I was going to mention, but I'll just mention the two of the guys I had written down. Christian mentioned him earlier. He's performing pretty well. He was drafted really late. No one expected him to be that good. And then you mentioned earlier Tyler Lockett. He's been, way better than we expected him to be. He fell pretty late in drafts as well. And if you draft,
this is a conversation we have every year.
Yeah,
for like the past 6 years, every year, it's like this time. Like, wow, Tyler Lockett's a lot better than we drafted him every time. Are we ever going to freaking learn?
Yeah, exactly. He is definitely that overlooked guy all the time. All right, guys. Today's show is brought to you by No House Advantage. It's changing the game. Play pick'em style contest for a shot to win $150K. Get the No House Advantage app. Use our promo code GF2 to get a deposit match up to $25. Bet up to 5 player props, over unders, and individual player matchups across every major sports league, including MMA, NASCAR, and PGA. Again, use our promo code GF2 at nohouseadvantage.com or get the app at the App Store. Get your first deposit match, because at No House Advantage, it's not how you play, but where you play.
Going for 2 Live and PlayPickup.com present the Pickup Props of the Week.
All right, guys, you know how this works. I put these props up in the Discord, courtesy of PlayPickup.com, and we're going to talk about them tonight. We'll go ahead and go with this first one here. More receiving yards week 8, Ryan. Jalen Waddle versus Amon-Ra St. Brown.
Jalen Waddle, I know Amon-Ra, they said didn't have a concussion and wasn't hurt, but I know Waddle's healthy and he's been on a tear, and Miami has a good defense, and the Lions have a bottom 3 defense in the league who've given up a ton of points. Waddle's going to freaking eat.
Yeah. What about you, Rob? Who are you going with here?
Man, this was tough for me. because I love Amon-Ra so much. So, like, I did put Amon-Ra. I did vote for Amon-Ra actually, and I know it wasn't the popular choice. I do think it could end up being a situation of game script where Miami might end up getting ahead, and Amon-Ra just gets a lot of late garbage time kind of stuff. So, yeah, I'm gonna go with Amon-Ra, but it does not feel great. I'll say that.
Yeah. Actually, I voted Amon-Ra St. Brown as well, and I believe I think I checked this, but they're playing at home, right? They're in
Yeah.
Detroit, and if you look at Jared Goff's numbers, his splits between home and away, it's like night and day. And I do think that Jared Goff at home plays well. Amon-Ra St. Brown's his guy. You mentioned they're probably going to be down in this game, throwing it a ton, so I'm going to go with Amon-Ra St. Brown in this one. The Discord obviously agrees with Jalen Waddle. They went 71%. I'm sorry, they went Jalen Waddle 71%. They chose them. All right, the next one we got is who will lead the Packers and Bills game in rushing yards. Your options are Singletary, Allen, Aaron Jones, AJ Dillon, or other. Who do you got, Rob?
Whew. This one's a interesting one. The fact that they include Allen is just what all you need to know about these running back. I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones though. I've always been lower on Singletary as is, and I just think Aaron Jones is the most talented of this group. So I'm just gonna hope that plays out and he can get some big gains, some chunk gains, and be efficient. So I'm gonna go with Aaron Jones.
Yeah, I looked at Aaron Jones and thought about it, and if it was total yards, he would have been a smash. I was a little scared because he doesn't get as much rushing yards as we would hope. What about you, Ryan?
I want to go Aaron Jones. I think he'll have more receiving yards than rushing yards this game because the game script and how good the Bills have been against the run. So I'm going to take Allen. Like, and it's going to be like 50 or 60 yards.
Yeah,
but it's not going to be much. But I'm going to go Allen just for the fact it's part of his game and a huge part of it. And I'm sure he's going to put on a show against Aaron Rodgers.
Yeah, so I went a different route. I actually agree with the consensus here on Discord and went Devin Singletary. And really, it's I think game script. I think in the fourth quarter, I think it's going to be
never Devin Singletary. Yeah, never.
But yeah, I think they're salting the game away in the fourth quarter. Singletary's getting the ball a ton at the end of the game, and I think he puts up more rushing yards than the rest of those guys there. Last one here, and this one hurts a little bit. Over under 49.5 receiving yards for DJ Moore. What do you got, Rob?
DJ Moore is my guy. I got to go over. I mean, I think I saw a stat out there with it was talking about with and without Christian McCaffrey and DJ Moore. Like it was more geared towards fantasy points, but I think it was like 9 with and like 12 or something like without. So I do think like it's not that much of a coincidence that he had his best game as soon as McCaffrey's gone. I do think they're going to try to feature him a lot more, or at least try to. And we'll see about that. And then Atlanta, I think Atlanta's letting up the most fantasy points to wide receivers right now. And I believe they're playing at Atlanta, which again, that should be in a dome. And I always love targeting games, passing offenses in a dome. So I'm going to go with the over here.
All right, going over. Ryan, what you got here? Over 49.5 rush or passing or receiving yards for DJ Moore.
I'm gonna go over because one, it's Atlanta. Two, I just love DJ Moore and I want it to happen. I'm willing it into existence, and it's not Baker in there, so I have some faith.
Yeah,
no Baker. He's the only one who can make quarterback proof wide receivers, not quarterback proof. He is essentially a career killer. It's unbelievable.
Yeah, 100% agree, and I'm with y'all as well. I'm going over on this one, and it's more with my heart than my head. I think PJ Walker's starting again, right? They haven't cleared anybody.
Yeah. So, I wouldn't bet it.
Yeah, I
wouldn't bet this. No. I wouldn't bet this, but if we're just saying what we want to happen,
yeah, I'm going over. Discord agrees at a 75 to 25% clip, so DJ Moore over 50 yards basically. All right, let's get to some breakout or fake out.
Breakout or fake out?
All right, so typically when we do breakout or fake out, we're talking about guys that just came out of the weekend with the hot game, and we're talking about, are they breaking out? Are they going to fake us out? But this time I want to look at it going into the second half of the season. Breakouts being guys that we think can break out that haven't done a whole lot the first half of the season, and then fakeouts, guys that have been pretty good the first half of the season that we think are going to fall off. And I'll go to you first here, Rob. Give me one of your breakouts.
Yeah, so I think Jeff, you had mentioned him early on, Travis Etienne, and obviously he started out slow. J-Rob had those a couple big games in a row. People were freaking out a little bit about Etienne and his usage and things. And then last week, snap share spiked up to 82%. And it was the first time it was seen that large. Then obviously now we got J-Rob dealt. So I think they're starting to turn it over. They're realizing how explosive of a playmaker he is. He's got 3 straight weeks over 100 total yards now. I loved him heading in. I mean, I just thought he was a great running back, and especially in terms of being a pass catcher and being involved in the passing game. And I think we're going to see that moving forward. So, yeah, I'm pretty bullish on ETN rest of the season.
Yeah, I love it. Yeah, ETN's great, and I was all over ETN last week in my DFS lineups too, because I thought he was due for a huge game, and he had that.
Yeah.
So, love ETN going forward. Ryan, who you got for your breakout?
I love that one, by the way. I just talk about him too much, so I didn't say it. I'm going Rachaad White. It may be a hunch, it may be something, but this team needs a spark. He's an electric pass catcher out of the backfield. And this, with the way their offensive line looks, and Brady kind of just trying to fight survive back there, a guy with that receiving ability out of the backfield could be really big from here on out. It's kind of a breakout dart throw, but I really want to take that chance on him.
Good stuff. Yeah, I thought I would have the dark horse one. That was definitely more dark horse than my guy. My guy is Wan'Dale Robinson. We've seen the Giants try to get him the ball. I think he had 8 targets last week. It's the first time that he actually played over half of the snaps. Even the game where he had that touchdown, he only played like 16 or 14 snaps. They're trying to get him involved, trying to find creative ways to get him the ball in space, and he's electric when he has the ball in his hands. And that receiving core is so banged up. I mean, they basically don't have anybody else, so it's Wan'Dale or nobody. So I think Wan'Dale Robinson going forward is going to be a pretty good piece to have. All right, let's go. Let's do one fake out. So we'll go to you first again, Rob.
Yeah, so I'm gonna go with Miles Sanders here. It might be a little controversial. I've loved Miles Sanders like as a player. The thing I get concerned about, especially like PPR leagues for me, I always get concerned when guys are living more on efficiency and touchdowns and things like that. I mean, he's in a great offense to do it. Obviously, the Eagles' offense has been incredible. I mean, with Jalen Hurts, they're going to probably stay awesome. The thing that always concerns me about running backs with running quarterbacks is we see how much Jalen Hurts gets into the end zone himself. So, and he doesn't. And he also, if he's dropping back to pass and he gets pressured, I feel like he's much more likely to break contain and take off than he is to check down. I mean, Miles Sanders only has 42 receiving yards on the year. So to me, he has such a low floor if you're not getting that high end efficiency and that touchdown. Now, if obviously he could just keep scoring touchdowns and living on efficiency, but that's something that's like really tough for me. So I personally, I don't have him in a whole lot of leagues, but I've been trying to move him while I can.
Yeah, that's a really good point about the running quarterbacks, because you're right. I mean, their first instinct when they're in trouble is not to check it down, is to take off and run. So
exactly,
there's some dump offs that Sanders won't get because of that. All right, Ryan, what you got for a fake out?
It's going to be the Washington Commanders backfield, the combination of Antonio Gibson and Brian Robinson. And they both seemed good. They both seemed bad. The thing is, their offensive line stinks. They're 26th in yards created for their running backs. Both of them are super effective. The team's not good, playing from behind a lot. They both cannibalize off each other in similar ways. Either Robinson's a little bit better, or Gibson's a better pass catcher. Robinson's going to get more red zone attempts, and there's not going to be many of them because, again, they stink. But you don't want a running back in a bad offense, especially a running back who's in a timeshare in a bad offense. And you got J.D. McKissick in there stealing a little bit of work. It's a nightmare. I want nothing to do with any of them. And I think the hype we had on them is dead for the foreseeable future.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's a 3-headed monster I want no part of. So my guy is kind of sort of let the cat out of the bag in this last week because it kind of already started to happen. But Clyde Edwards-Helaire, is my guy. He didn't even start the game this past week. The big news was that Pacheco was going to start, which he did. And then Edwards-Helaire saw a season low in snap percentage. He's kind of one of those guys, like you mentioned, living on efficiency. Even when he was doing really well, he was getting the touchdowns and not getting a lot of snaps and touches. So Clyde Edwards-Helaire is my guy that I'm going to basically be if I own him, I'm trying to sell him now while I can. But I wouldn't go out and try to get him for sure. So he's my guy. We got time for let's do one more round. We'll go breakout again, Rob.
Yeah, so breakout for me, another one I had was Drake London. Ryan had mentioned it earlier about he started off hot, and he had 3 awesome games in a row. And I mean, I don't know. I think it's just. I honestly think it's just an Arthur Smith thing at this point. Like, they're running so much, and they've been successful, but I don't see that continuing. I think they're gonna have to throw more than what they have, and I think I saw that Drake London was one of only 8 wide receivers that has both 30% target share and a 30% air yard share. So, and the rest of them basically all studs. So, I think as long as they tick up in the passing game, they're running it at like a historic rate. So it's crazy. I just don't think that's going to continue. So as long as the pass volume ticks up and he keeps that kind of those shares, I think he could be in for a big second half.
I like it. Ryan, breakout.
I'm going with a guy who I have, well, it's not going to say trashed, but have been very adamant about his breakout not happening for the past couple years, and that's Tony Pollard. Ooh. I think we're at that point with Zeke having possible torn MCL, where Pollard is going to actually get the role that we want to see him have. Zeke there caused it. A healthy Zeke makes it so that doesn't happen. But if he can take that role and actually be what people believe he is, he may not give it back. And that's when I have a chance to believe in him. In the past, I didn't because the opportunity wasn't there. But now it is. It's his time to shine.
I like it. So my other breakout, I'm going rookie receiver again, and the guy we haven't talked about tonight that's been showing up big is Mr. George Pickens. He's finally starting to show the talent that we all know he had. Quarterbacks are targeting him finally. He's made some of the best catches we've ever seen, this year at least. So Pickens, I think, is going to have wheels up. That offense does still scare me, but I still think he's going to get his targets. He'll get his. He's too talented not to. So George Pickens would be my second half breakout. Let's do one fake out, and then we'll get to our last segment. So don't worry, Kyle, we're getting to it. I haven't cut her off the show. We'll go to you first this time, Ryan. Give me your fake out.
Well, mine was, I had 2. You took mine with CEH.
Yeah, that was my other one too. One of my other ones.
I don't know if I consider it a fake out because he hasn't done anything good this year, but everyone thought he was, and it's AJ Dillon. I just see no way where that offense, and he picks it back up. They're just not efficient in any way, shape, or form unless the pass game improves. The run game doesn't improve with him. I just don't see it. Aaron Jones has a stranglehold on actually be a good running back. So I think any thought we had on him in fake out, any future breakout this year is also not real.
Yeah, good stuff. Do you have another fake out, Rob?
Yeah, it's funny because I had CH. He was my third one, but I'm gonna go with Brandon Ayuk. I kind of like Brandon Ayuk, but I just think we've already seen that offense. Just pass volume is going to be up and down. They're a team that wants to run the ball. There was already led by Jimmy G, so you only have so much to go around really as it is, and you got guys like Debo and Kittle, and now you add CMC to the mix. I know it's not like I think Ayuk's going to be terrible. I just think it's going to be a lot more inconsistent. And I think he's talented, but I just think there's only so much to go around. I think the team's going to be good. I think they're going to give a lot of work to CMC. So outside of any injuries, I kind of think, Ayuk could be at his highest point in terms of value on the year.
Yeah, I'm with you, and I'm a big Ayuk guy. I loved Ayuk coming into the season.
Yeah.
But yeah, with CMC there, Debo getting what he's getting, and then Kittle's coming around. So yeah, Ayuk is going to be the odd man out. Unfortunately, I do think he's super talented. He'll have his boom game like he did a couple weeks ago, where he had 2 touchdowns. But it's going to be hard to predict those games. All right, so my last fake out. I know we talked about him earlier that we don't give him any respect, and I'm going to continue to not give him any respect, and that's Tyler Lockett. And it's nothing against Tyler Lockett. I just think the Geno Smith train has to fall off eventually. I think it's going to happen eventually, and I think Lockett's the one that's going to hurt the most.
So you really want to say Geno Smith and Tyler Lockett catches a stray? That's messed up, man.
Yeah. I just think Lockett is probably in the starting lineup in most teams where I don't think Geno has quite made it to the starting lineup just yet. So I think Lockett was the one that's going to hurt the most if you have him.
I've started him almost every week in the Scott Fishbowl, Geno. So
that's a different kind of league. So that's a different kind of league. All right, let's get to the final segment of the night.
Get ready for GoingFor2.com's Forgotten Fantasy Player of the Week.
All right, Rob, I'm gonna give you no pressure here. We're doing this segment now for almost 5 years.
Ooh.
We've heard a lot of guys here, so you got to come strong here. Who do you got?
Man, no problem at all. I'm gonna go with Chris Johnson, CJ2K.
Nice.
Yeah, so he was a guy that was like kind of near and dear to my heart. Back when he was kind of came on like a little bit after I started playing, probably 2006, and he was drafted in 2008. But in my longest running home league, it's a keeper league, and we were basically drafting guys, and then you'd keep them in the same round as you drafted them the previous year. So rookie year, I drafted him 9th round. He finished top 12, so then I kept him as a 9th rounder heading into the next year, and that was that legendary season where he rushed for 2,000 yards. Yep. So he was the RB1 far and away, averaging 26 a game. And yeah, I mean, it felt like every week just the highlights were insane. And he was just breaking big play after big play. He was so electric, so explosive. He was involved in the pass game too, which was nice too. And I mean, he had over just under 2,500 total yards that year, I think. I won the championship in that league that year, so like it was extra special for me. I bought a fathead. I don't even know if those are around anymore, honestly. And so I had the fathead because like all my buddies were always coming over during that time of my life. So I had the fathead, and every time they came over, they're just a fathead of CJ2K sitting right there, and I'd remind them about it all the time, let them hear it. So it was fun. And the thing is, though, he was actually pretty good a bunch of other years. I think he had 6 straight 1,000-yard rushing years to start his career, and 6 straight 1,400 yard. So he was awesome. I miss him.
He's like one of those trivia question guys that you can't ever get when they ask, who are the 2,000-yard rushers in the NFL history. I feel like a lot of them you reel off pretty quickly. He's the one that people always forget about having that 2,000-yard season.
He had the nickname though.
Yeah,
he did have CJ2K.
Okay, yeah.
I mean,
he was awesome. I loved him.
Yeah, it was awesome. All right, that's good stuff. That wraps the show up, fellas. We'll go around the room really quick. Give us your Twitter handle if you want to plug anything. Rob, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, follow me on Twitter at Norton0723. You got a few articles coming out early week, coming out late week for Last Word on Sports and Betting Predators. So, and then I'll be doing I do usually a couple podcasts and things like that. So be on the lookout.
Good stuff. And just on that note, too, guys, if you're in the Discord, Rob puts a lot of his stuff there in the Verified Analyst chat. So if you're on Discord, you can find his stuff there as well. Ryan, what you got?
Find me on Twitter, Fox534. You guys know the rest. I'm good. I don't feel like plugging anything.
All right. As always, guys, you can follow me on Twitter at JeffLambert77. And since Kyle's in the chat here, I want him to relay this message. Check out the Friday 8:30 show, B League's Pick'ems. He gives me a hard time because I don't ever promote the shows enough. So I'm going to promote his show at nausea now. But he does underdog picks on 8:30, and it's more than just picks. I mean, the B League, if you see him on the Monday night pregame show, he's just entertaining as hell. He's the only guy that I've ever seen that can make a one-man podcast, super hilarious and fun to watch. So definitely check it out. It's on the Go for Two Live Network, 8:30 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So if you play underdog and you do the pick'ems, he definitely is a good watch. All right. For Rob, for Ryan, I'm Jeff, and we will see y'all next week.